Well, hey there, crypto friends. Thanks again for joining me once again. Today, I have a special guest on the program. We have Markus Levin. He is the head of operations for XYO Network. Thanks for joining me, Markus.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. XYO is a project that I came across quite a while ago. I actually did a review of you guys during your before your ICO, pre-ICO, and I love the concept, the general concept of this, kind of Oracle network where you're aggregating data in here. There's real life data. It's a way to bring real life data into the blockchain and to do a lot of really cool things with it. So I just wanted to kind of, do an introduction here to all of my followers on exactly how amazing XYO really is. We have a lot of things I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the network in general, your guys' use case, but I also want to get into geomining, which is one of my favorite new things to do, and talk a little bit about that as well. So why don't we just start off and you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of ended up here at XYO, and then we can talk a little bit about what the company actually does.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm from Germany originally, as my accent might tell, and I used to work in startups for the last 15 years or so. Went into tech at some point, and then started to cross paths with Ari in 2011 when we were together at advertising technology company, which then grew up to massive size, and then we sold in 2015. And Ari left that company in 2012 to start XY, which was then an IoT company which created consumer devices in the findable space, so key finders, GPS trackers, and those types of things. And then I dabbled somewhere else a little bit and built a publishing company and did a bunch of other things. And then Ari and I came together again in 2017. And he called me and said he had this amazing idea what he can do with XY. And so the XYO was born basically. And then we grew it from there.
That's cool. So you kind of bounced around a lot here. Ari was the one who created the original XY company, and then you guys have added the O here recently in 2017, and kind of made a shift here to blockchain. Now so that means XY was really already an established company. They were already doing things within the findables type of space, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so what was it about blockchain that really excited yourself and Ari to want to pivot in that direction?
Yeah, so I built a distributed computing company built in 2013 called NovaCore. And NovaCore started out with Bitcoin mining. And then in 2013, it wasn't such a profitable exercise. We had millions of nodes. But it wasn't as profitable. So we used that network to do cancer research with the University of Washington, to do molecule, protein, like key lock type research. Yeah. And then grew this and sold the solutions to pharma companies and hedge funds. But we had so much going on that we closed it down 2-3 years later. But basically we both had some decent ideas about what's happening in the blockchain space. And then in 2017, so we had that expertise, but we also we had a data company which we sold at some point to 1010 Data of New York. And so we were in this data space and blockchain space and immutable data, and we understood that the scale and the money is not going to come from the small devices themselves, but it's more about building something bigger around the data of location.
Right.
And location, we realized, is easily spoofed or hacked today. You can download a GPS spoofing app and that's it, basically. And you can lie about where you are. And we think in the world of tomorrow, where everything's automated, you have automated supply chains and smart cities and self-driving cars and drones delivering your groceries and whatnot, you need to be able to rely on your location data. And so that's what we want to provide for tomorrow. So location is what the book was for Amazon, let's say. And then we realized that there's not only a problem with location, but other sensory data, because a sensor can tell you that the temperature outside of your house, let's say it's 80 degrees, in San Diego, so it's warm. But nobody really can confirm that this is true. So if you look at the ice cream truck, for example, right, you always wonder if the ice cream melted before and then was refrozen, right? With our technology, we can make sure that all the sensors which are able to capture some of that temperature data we put together, and reach some type of consensus, and we can verify that data.
Yeah, and I think that you make a really good point about the whole GPS movement. When you look at all the technology that relies on GPS these days, I mean, it's a massive amount of technology and data that we're relying on GPS for. And with it being easily spoofed, like you said, I think it's a lot easier for people to bad actors to come into the scene to be able to use that ability to do things, or to not be truthful about certain things, like you said about the ice cream example. Like, no, well, we tracked your ice cream shipment all the way from here to here. We use GPS. You can see here's the truck and it moved down the highway, but you're not going to be able to necessarily get that same kind of data from that kind of device in a way that is in a trustless manner. And so in the inverse example with your devices, maybe that truck passes 20 geolocating devices or geomining devices, XY devices that then that are verifying that data that the ice cream has stayed frozen at this certain temperature along all those data points. And I think that's actually a really big use case. I mean, when people look at the big picture type of thing, it's a really big picture stuff. And so I think sometimes that's hard for people to wrap their head around, but I love these examples. The other example I see also on your website too is about the Amazon tracking, where you can say, hey, I've had packages stolen off of my porch, and I know other people have had packages stolen off their porch before. And so when you can offer a service like that, you can know 100% that it was verified, that it was tracked all the way from who delivered it, how it was delivered there, from going from the truck to your porch, things like that. I think that is actually a pretty big thing. And then if someone does steal it and they try and take off with it, I mean, then you still have that tracking there inside with that package, right? So I think that actually has a really good use case as well when you talk about kind of what are consumers most concerned about. And I think things like that actually really get people excited, I think, about the technology.
I agree.
Yeah. So, when you talk about this thing, tell us a little bit about, in general, what a data oracle really, what kind of role a data oracle plays in a blockchain system here, and why it's actually important versus something like GPS.
Yeah, the smart contracts basically, they came around with Ethereum, and Nick Szabo came up with that, and smart contracts are basically the idea that you have an automated contract, like let's say we need to make a bet if a certain sports team wins, right? And either you win or I win, and then we send each other some Ethereum. Whoever is winner gets Ethereum.
Right.
And the problem is, how do we get the data into that smart contract to actually resolve it? And today you would look onto a website like ESPN, right? And then see the sports score there, and that goes into the smart contract. The problem is that one website is easily hacked, right? Or you can pay off the editor, or you can, whatever. If your reward to cheat is sufficiently large, you just cheat, right? That's
Sure.
how the world works, right? People are incentivized to cheat. Someone will cheat. And what we do, basically, we take a bunch of data sources, the blockchain world calls oracles, and put them all together and put them into that smart contract to resolve that smart contract. And we use a concept we call proof of origin, which shows where the data is coming from, who was it handed off to, who signed that data as well. So it's like all those groups basically verifying that same data to then give you a certain type of certainty. So you can say, I'm 97% certain that my Amazon package made it onto my porch and that it's still there, and so that payment to Amazon should get triggered. Right. And then for Amazon, could mean like if you do a chargeback because you say, oh, the package was never delivered, Amazon can say, oh, but it's on your porch, right? So the chargeback is fraudulent.
Right. So it all comes down to bringing real world data onto the blockchain, like digitizing physical aspects of things. And so you're right. So when you say something like, well, what about things like price action? When you say, okay, well, I saw on this one website the price of this coin was this, and so it would trigger this certain smart contract, but the price is totally different on this other platform. But we can be able to take things like that and to digitize them into a decentralized nature, so we can really aggregate maybe those prices together. Same thing we were talking about with the packages, where it's like saying, okay, well, we're going to be able to aggregate this data, and we know within a certainty that this is actually what happened because two XYO devices passed by your house and they pinged, and the package is still sitting on the front porch. Go look for and they go outside, and then there's the package. So I think that that's really the large use case here when you talk about big picture. It's about securing, real life data and putting it on the blockchain. And so when you do that, a lot of people say, oh, well, are they tracking my location? Do they know where I'm at? Is it somebody like I'm going to have this on my phone, or I'm going to have this, XYO thing in my pocket? And so that means they know me, and it can be tied to me. Is that the case here? How do you guys deal with location data? Is it anonymous, or is it pegged to you in some sort of way?
It depends a little bit on the use case, but it's mostly it's similar to what your phone does today,
right?
Where your phone tracks your location, and on top of that, you build certain applications which use that location data, like Uber or Amazon or Yelp, or every second app basically you have on your phone. And some people are concerned about that and switch off the location tracking capabilities of the phone, and some people appreciate the services as they can get from all the apps that I just mentioned. So there is some trade-off, I would say, and you give something up, but you get something in return. But however, the data is anonymized, right? It can be tied back to your person, and like make sure to keep everything as private as possible. And it's a decentralized network, so it's important because everybody has access to that type of data, right? But there's a way also to encrypt some of the data you want to see on the chain. So if you want, let's say, you are a logistics company and you bring your containers to the United States, throughout the United States, but you don't want to share temperature data, then you can encrypt that temperature data. And so only you know what the data string really means on the blockchain, and nobody else could read it.
So you can kind of have, it one way or the other. So you can have it being, totally public data that is out there that's anonymous public data, but it's data that can be, mined by other, devices that you can verify through other devices. And then you can kind of have a combination where some of that data maybe you don't want to release, but maybe you want to release just the location part of it, but not a temperature part of that location. Exactly. Of that data. I mean, yeah, that's actually really interesting to be able to have it compartpartmentalized like that.
Yeah, it's easier to grab some metadata. In the city of San Diego, for example, has I think 3,200 cameras on the streetlights now, and gun sound sensors and moisture and whatever. So traffic density sensors. San Diego tries to become more of a smart city. And the way they do it is to give access to a lot of that data. So you as a developer can log into the City of San Diego portals and start to play around with the data and try to build something useful for the public or for your company. And it's similar in our way that we give access, or not we, but the blockchain, that's just the nature of blockchain, right? Gives access to some data, and hopefully you build something useful.
Yeah, and so then, that actually leads me to a good next point here is that, XYO actually allows developers to come and build on top of their network and to be able to use the functions that your XYO Sentinel devices and bridges are actually providing. And so they can build their own kind of cool tools. And you guys have just recently rolled out, I saw a development platform that gives you the kind of beginnings to be able to do this, right?
Yeah, you're right. We don't only allow, we strongly encourage. Like, we really believe in the decentralized nature of the XYO networks. Everything's open source. We don't have any patents around it, and therefore it's taking for everyone. And our purpose as a company is to support the XYO network. And developers now are building certain decentralized apps on top of that, and not only in the blockchain space, but also enterprises are talking with us, and it's basically everyone wants to have access to that data. So when you and I talk, we are blockchain enthusiasts, right? We talk about decentralized apps and what type of crypto or blockchain applications you can have on top of that. But there's so much outside of that as well. If you think about who's using GPS today, and so many enterprises use GPS, and the same thing. We allow companies basically to plug into the XYO network solution. They don't care much that it's blockchain powered. What they care about is that they have immutable, amazing data, which is verified, which gives them certainty. They build certain things on top of that. So we have a lot of blockchain developers, but also non-blockchain type of developers who are interested in building on top of the XYO.
Yeah. And that I actually wanted to specifically point that out to people, because one of the things I always talk about is, mainstream adoption. I'm always trying to push, more and more people, new people to get into the blockchain space. But really, I think what is that we got to get to the point where people are using this technology, but they don't really need to even realize that it is blockchain technology. It just needs to give them the tools and the data that they need to be able to build stuff they're doing or to do things they want to do that are interesting and fun, whether that be a game, whether that be aggregating data for a really cool tool, something like tracking packages or tracking temperature in your ice cream truck or whatever it may be in a decentralized manner that is 100% verifiable versus a manner that, could easily be kind of tweaked with or can be changed for a nefarious purpose to maybe get more money out of somebody or to get a higher dollar for something that maybe doesn't really warrant that higher dollar price. And so I actually really like that aspect of what you guys are doing, and exposing this network in a way that it does use decentralization, but it does it in a way where developers can be utilizing this data network for really cool things, and it doesn't have to be all like, oh, blockchain, and so I do really love that. Now, one of the other cool aspects that we haven't even talked about yet, but I've been excited and I want to get into this, is the whole geomining aspect. And so you guys have this this whole concept of geomining. It's basically being a I would say kind of mini node within the network to be able to provide some of this data into the network for location and for also pinging other devices, and then you're rewarded with XYO tokens. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about what geomining actually is here on the network, and I'll show some examples of some of the stuff I have here, which I think are really cool. So,
yeah, awesome. We have a bunch of devices, so you will probably show some. So, like we call them Sentinels and Bridges. Yep, this is the Sentinel.
On my keychain right here, XYO Sentinel goes with me everywhere for geomining.
I love it. And so as you use that and you have a bridge around you, like your cell phone or a bridge from our geomining kit, you call them bound witnesses between those devices, which are basically selfies between us two, right? So this interaction gets recorded, we put our signatures on there, and then it gets handed off to the next part of the system, which is called the archivist. So the bridge relays the data to the next system. And as you walk around, you provide data about your outside world, and you interact with the Amazon package you spoke about, or the ice cream truck, or with the Yelp reviewer who really was at the restaurant, where the Yelp reviewer wrote a review about it. It's difficult for me to say. And so you have all these interactions with these devices, and you can use your mobile app as well. We have the Coin app, which allows you to interact with that Sentinel and create bound witnesses, basically, and make the world visible in a location type space. And you earn XYO when you do so.
Yeah. So, in comparison to what we were talking about earlier, how we were saying most of your mobile phones now, unless you're turning off location data, it's sending this data anyways as a GPS, through a GPS network, to places like Google or to other developers that you're saying, hey, yeah, that's fine, you can use my location, whatever. And they're aggregating that data anonymously as well, but you're not getting anything in return for it, right?
That's right.
And I mean that's the case. I mean when I'm using my Google Map, they're sending data as I'm traveling down the freeway to be able to say, okay, people are going this amount of speed, and then it puts it back into the network for you to say how long it's going to get, or how long it's going to take you to get to that destination. And so, but with the XYO network, they're doing a very similar task, but you're actually getting paid in XYO tokens for providing that kind of similar data to the XYO network, which I think is actually really cool. And I'd much rather be getting paid for my data versus my data just be taken and getting a small service in return. And so you mentioned before the Coin app, and so I'll see if you guys can see this here. So this is the Coin app. It's actually has like a little, it tells you where you're at. You can see here, this is my house. I'm home right now. And then if you mine a token, like I'm just gonna do it right here on the screen. So it goes to the little thing, it mines it, boom, and then you're gonna see like all those little XY tokens go into my wallet here at the top. And so I've been mining. I've been walking around. I do this every morning when I take my daughter to school, when I pick her up for sure. And if I'm out traveling, and I love the fact that you guys have the auto collect feature now, so I can do it while I'm driving. I don't have to be hitting the button, which is dangerous. Don't do that. But now we have auto collect, which is great. But yeah, so I've been mining XYO tokens here for the past couple of weeks. I've mined about 4,500 XYO tokens just walking my daughter to school back and forth. And all I have to do is just, like I said, I have my keychain here with my Sentinel, which are these really cool things. And actually, I'm gonna show here everybody this is the XYO geo mining kit, which is actually really cool. I love the design of all this stuff. Actually, it makes me want to carry it. It's kind of cool. So you get this whole package here of all these XYO Sentinels. These are the data points that you can carry around. You can put on anything you want. You can put in your backpack, whatever. And then this is the bridge right here. Actually, I unconnected it for this, but I have it connected here to my system and stuff here at home. So pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you get these cool, these XYO Sentinels that you can, pretty much put wherever. You put them in backpacks. You can put them, like I saw on your guys' website, you can put them in your dog's collar, things like this, where you're walking around with these data points all the time. You can put it in static locations too. Like you could stick this in a static location, right? Maybe like your business that you owned, and so anytime anything came around your business, it would ping off that as well, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, so you can actually, with the Coin app, with a future iteration, you can, as a business, you can say, I'm going to give away, I don't know, 1,000 XYO or 10,000 XYO to everyone who comes here between 8 and 9 p.m., right? So you can incentivize people to come to your place and like geomine or take certain types of actions there, like drink a beer or whatever it is. And the expectation is also that you're going to earn more XYO as time goes on, because there's going to be more and more people paying for that, or companies paying for that data. So this could be Amazon, for example, or the ice cream truck company, or Yelp, or whoever who pays for some of that data. And as your data becomes part of answers for those enterprises, you earn XYO. So you don't need to then manually press a button up anymore. Then also there will be interactions between devices automatically. Now we are more in the early stages of the XYO network, so it's not as dense. But as you start to interact in the future, as you start to interact with all the other devices, you will basically automatically earn XYO as your data becomes part of Ansys.
Right, and so that essentially what you're saying is that's not in the app yet, but it's something that's coming very soon, and that's actually a feature that I've asked about, and I'm actually really excited about, because yeah, it's great to be able to jump in the Coin app, to be able to do the auto mine thing everywhere I go. I just have it on. It does drain your battery, I'm not gonna lie, but just like any other little mining program, it's using your processor to process this geo data. But I think it'll be really amazing once my XY Sentinel can interact with another XY Sentinel, another data point that's out there, and then, like you said, be able to ping that data off there, and then being paid automatically for things like that. And so I don't have to necessarily have to have something running in the background to have that happen. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And then the next iteration of that is, we actually update and upgrade existing IoT devices. So where we upgrade your fridge's firmware with XYO, we can do that for certain chipsets already. And so your fridge basically, as the center of the house, starts to do geomining as well. So we put the SDK into certain mobile apps, which are location enabled anyways, and they do automatic geomining as well. So there's going to be more and more devices, that's our expectation, more and more devices which are then providing data, and which means you provide more data, but you also earn more XY.
Right. And so, just to kind of just get the once again go back to the big picture here, XYO Network actually, has both I would say a B2B side and then also like a consumer side, right? So the B2B side is, well, developers and other app makers can incorporate our data network into these apps that use location data but need to be more, hacker proof or more spoof proofing. and so have a more reliant kind of geo connected network. And so that there's that side, which is actually a huge incentive, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, when you talk about some of the numbers with like, Amazon losing packages, I mean, that's in the millions of how much money that they're losing. And there's actually some really other great examples on your guys' website that I had pulled up earlier, which I thought were really cool. So you can go to xyo.network and check out some of those. But in general, I think that it's important that people see that there's then also the consumer side, which is the fact that you're getting paid for this geo data that you're providing to the network, and it can be done in right now it's done in more of an active way, right, with the geo mining app and the coin app that you can download. But the goal here is for it to be a very passive thing. So you're right. Any IoT things that you may be having here in the future that are relying on this geo data, you're then getting paid to be able to help secure the network or help give data to this network versus what you have now where you're doing the same thing but you're getting nothing in return as a consumer. And so I think that's a big point that people really need to think about here, because when you look at what all these major companies like Facebook and Google, what they do, people say, oh, well, they have these great services. How can they give it away for free? How do they give me Gmail for free? How does Facebook free? Well, I've tried to explain this to my parents. I go, it's because they're mining all of your sensitive data and they sell it to people, other companies that want to use that data to market to you for. So, I think that these companies are in it for that reason. They're in it because they're trying to collect this data, because big data is a big multi-billion-dollar market. And so I think that if the consumer can be getting a piece of that by utilizing XYO, why wouldn't you, right? I mean, why wouldn't you grab a couple of these XY Sentinels and slap them on everything you got, put them in your car, put them on your keychain, stick it in your kid's backpack, whatever it may be, have them running around as like little geominers themselves, because all the data is basically anonymized. It's not like you're tracking someone specific. They're just sending anonymized location data to help support the network and to here in the future be able to ping off other devices, and you're basically earning XYO tokens for doing a very passive type of thing, which I love. Passive income.
Me too.
Yeah,
it's the best kind of income, I think. Yeah, awesome. I couldn't agree more. Like, it's the future we imagine here at XYO, and the future actually which we have built in the last 1.5 years or so is mind-boggling, and there's so much planned for the future and for the XYO network, and everybody who's there early with us. We're very grateful for that, and it's just amazing to have such a community which we have.
Yeah. So before we get going here, Markus, is there anything that you want to add real quick about your guys' future roadmap or about what you guys are doing right now? Also, maybe where you can find XYO online?
Yeah, find us on xyo.network, and on there you find some buttons where you can check out the geomining kit, for example, or you read some use cases, check out the team, or get in touch with us if you have any questions, or sign up for our newsletter maybe, and then you get some emails from Scott and Mike and a bunch of other people from us. And for the future, so we are building out the network right now and build new components there. We built another iteration of the archivists and the diviners, and built some XYO home kits and some other devices which you can put into your home, and which allow you to be part of the network and make the network more complete and more decentralized. And then if you're a developer, we have a developer conference starting June 4th in 6th, 5th.
Around there.
Larry, our head of communications, sits right beside me. In San Diego, which is going to be over 2 days, with Nick Szabo, Ari Tro, our visionary founder and CEO, cool. And bunch of other very, very clever people. And then we have our conference Spatial in November. We had last November almost 800 people here in San Diego, which also like supports the XYO Network. So become part of the community, and then once you're part of it, we are going to rope you in.
There you go. Yeah, I missed the spatial event last year, but I will definitely be there at the event in San Diego this year. So definitely count on seeing the stash there. Once again, I love XYO. I really love the fact that you guys have an actual working product, and that's a big thing for me. In general, when I'm talking about investing into a product or into a blockchain type of company, there's lots of promises out there, but you guys so far have delivered on these promises, and I really love what XYO is doing here. So that's all we have for today, guys. Till next time. Stash that crypto, friends.